What's up, folks? Maximilian here, bringing you another video breakdown from the footage I got of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 from the Fight Club in Los Angeles last week. And as I explained in the previous episode, this one is going to focus on some of the Strider technology that I found during the show. But until that happens, we'll just continue on with the footage. So right off the bat, I've been using a lot of Virgil, and I explained quite a bit of what Virgil can do in the previous one, and he's a pretty tricky character. Someone gave him the example that he's Wesker with a sword, and I think that's kind of fair, to be honest. I think that's actually a pretty accurate statement. But one of the bigger things I wanted to talk about, like I was saying, is the Strider tech. And especially the fact that Strider's double jump is extremely tricky and extremely shallow. And I think it's coming up right here, and you're going to see what I mean. Essentially, Strider and his teleports allow him to double jump once he teleports, because he's still free to do moves. So as you can see here, you teleport, do a light kick as you're falling, and off of that light kick, double jump into the opponent to continue your combo. That essentially means Strider's doing a double overhead every time he can combo, or you can fake do it and just fall. So you're putting yourself in some crazy 50-50 mix-ups. The other one, as you just saw, is using the satellite shot, and it's summoning the satellite shot as soon as a person's getting up and then wall clinging to the other side. Now, depending on the speed of your wall cling, this will actually change the direction of which they need to block, which is really tough. In my eyes, Strider seems like an extremely tricky character, more along the lines as he's built for mix-ups, and not as much for raw damage. If anything I could tell from the show, I don't know how much damage they all do because I don't know the maximum health of the characters yet, but Strider's combos don't do that much unless you integrate the level 3 into it. Anything that ended with Legion, which is the one that summons several tigers and birds, hit it off the ground, it's good, but if you have an extended combo, it doesn't, because they come out really slow, and you have to get them as soon as they hit the ground and summon Legion, or else it won't work. So it's kind of a bummer. Strider seems like a raw mix-up character, and he's not especially meant for the purposes of damage. And I kind of like that, and it kind of fits with the design decision that Capcom has had with Ultimate Marvel 3 over Marvel 3. And Marvel 3 was an execution-based game. If you were a god of execution, you could kill almost anything with a single combo, including DHC glitch, etc., etc. What they want in this game is for characters not to die in a single combo. They want characters to live, and you have to mix them up and think about your playstyle. And if you just saw that one combo with Hawkeye right there, Hawkeye can combo off both of his level 1s, it looks like. It's pretty decent damage too, and it's kind of neat to look at. But yeah, back to the design decision. I really feel it. Like a lot of the new cast, their damage potential is all right, but for the sake of like Virgil and Strider, they're all about mix-ups. Like they're all about constantly doing stuff like this, mixing up, comboing off of air throws, and putting opponents into situations where they have to think about what you're going to do next, instead of the fact that they're going to be stuck in a combo for the next 30-45 seconds. I like that design decision. I think that's good. As much as being an old fighting game player and being in the community for a long time, I like seeing execution rewards. Like in games like CVS 2, in games like Marvel 2, being rewarded for execution was absolutely worth it. Spending hours and hours and hours in arcades practicing a single combo, or hours in training mode, was worth it. Like, if you got good at those situations you can put yourself in to get that combo, and then you actually did it during the time when you need to do it, it was worth it, because it'll totally kill a character. But I understand where they're coming from, because for the sake of the modern fighting game, and for the sake of how fighting games are designed nowadays, it's not exactly a bad thing, but they're designed more around the strategies and not as much the execution, because execution can be something that's a very high barrier of entry for people that would just like to enjoy the game. And it makes sense to me. If you see what just happened right there, and if you want to rewind the footage, Virgil, when he summons his swords that surround him, you can use it like Ouroboros, and the swords will hit if they get close, but you can also press special and like an attack, I think it was, and they line up around the back of them, and then you can actually shoot them by pressing special and attack, or maybe any of the attack buttons, and they fly forward. Now, the problem with that is that it costs another bar. So if you want to switch the stances of the swords around Virgil, I didn't even notice this till I was watching the footage, that costs meters. So if you want to take advantage of multiple changes with sword special on Virgil, or I think it's called dancing swords. Either way, it's going to cost you 2 bars. So that's a pretty big investment, and it better be worth it. I think at one point I had Devil Trigger activated, and during Devil Trigger the swords were doing much more damage, but I couldn't find any specific Devil Trigger moves as of yet for Virgil. He might have some. I was doing kind of similar stuff to Dante's Devil Trigger, and I couldn't find any. I think up right now I'm going with James Chen on a few of these games, and I'm showing him some of the old cast that I messed around with at EVO, because I guess he didn't get that much of a chance to play. But he's using Felicia and Morgan to check out their new changes, and Morgan's meter-eating fireball seems pretty good. If anything, she might be the anti-Phoenix now because of almost just because of that move. And James is using Hawkeye on my end, and I'm showing how brutally cheesy Ghost Rider can be. Ghost Rider really is going to be no joke. But Hawkeye, as you saw him punish, that omnidirectional super where he just releases one arrow, it literally is anywhere. From what I could tell, if they're not blocking, even if they're behind you, you let one go, whap, hits you. So I'm kind of making the assumption that the rough assumption, since we haven't seen anything for Rocket Raccoon yet, that might be the new Hyper Viper Beam. All things considered, Hyper Viper was a great punish. Air Hyper Viper Beam, I'm sorry, was an amazing punish in the previous game. Like, besides putting it in the middle of combos in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you can just whoop out a hyper jumped Air Hyper Viper Beam or super jumped Air Hyper Viper Beam, and then just knock a guy out with 3 more. Sure, you can't do that exactly, but the super jump into move still is here. And it's definitely, he's definitely a zoning character from what I could tell. I wanted to pick Iron Man because I have not had the chance to use Iron Man yet, and he's a little wonky. I'm a little, I don't know what to think about Iron Man right now, because I used Iron Man a ton when this game first came out, and I later replaced him with Dr. Doom. But Iron Man, I didn't mind him in the first one, but like I was saying, he had like these great moves when the game was first out, but there was other characters that could just do things better. Like Dr. Doom did things better than Iron Man did, in my opinion, and Magneto did things better than everyone. But in this one, as Iron Man comes in right now, you'll notice that his flight seems a little bit faster, but his air dash and his tri-jumping is much, much slower. And if anything, like, he activates the boosters first and then goes down, so it's a gliding motion instead of an instant dashing motion. But I am really digging the fact that he can air dash off of his air normals now, and that allows you to go into some like ROM loop-ish type of combos in the air. So I'm pretty happy about that. If you notice what just happened, Doctor Strange did his super that hits like the pillar, and it looked like Iron Man should have been hit. But I actually turned off flight, and he was able to block it, so it seemed practically instant. So that's another testament to Iron Man's flight. It's looking like Iron Man has the best flight in the game right now. And from what I could tell, all of his the shoulder cannon bombs and the regular unibeam seem to be faster. I don't know. Iron Man seems like he's going to take another few months to crack open, because in the first one it took a long time and a lot of execution to be really good with Iron Man. And in this one, it looking like it's going to be the same thing, but the payoff might be much better. All things considered, because from what I can tell from this show, Magneto seemed generally slower, Disruptor seemed a little bit slower, and a lot of his combo potential was kind of limited to the corner. If anything, a lot of his big combos, he couldn't do like anywhere in the screen anymore, from what I could tell. But yeah, I'm thinking the main characters I used here were Hawkeye, Virgil, and Strider, and I wanted to try out some of the new Doom changes. But Hawkeye seems fun. Virgil, I'm quickly becoming a fan of, and he might be replacing Dante in my team. And yeah, if anything, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 compared to Marvel 3, I definitely feel their design decisions. Although, if you're looking for severe changes in the system, you're not going to get it. The biggest change of the system is the fact that you can X-Factor in the air now. And level 1 X-Factor seems very minuscule. If anything, I only saw real big differences from level 2 or level 3. The only time I saw a big, damage increase from level 1 X-Factor is when you plugged it and then did a level 3. And you saw a pretty good increase. But from what I could tell, it is not, it's not nearly as abusable as it was in the first game. Like, Wolverine will not be able to kill you in one combo in X Factor anymore. But level 2 and 3 are still fairly powerful. Level 3 is still really powerful. So it's still a threat to be reckoned with. I see their design decisions where that's the only big thing in the game that's changing, and they wanted to change the characters where execution is still important, but it won't win you an entire match. Because from what I can tell, and doing things like Dante's old combos, execution gets hit really hard by damage scaling, or not damage scaling, hit stun scaling. All hit stun seems to be just generally harder in this game, and characters drop out of combos way quicker. So I kind of like that design decision. That changes a lot of Ultimate Marvel 3. It changes a lot of how people are going to be playing this one. Zoning is going to be a more important strategy in this one, I think, as well. And that's a crazy dynamic for a versus game, because I'm pretty sure every single versus game since X-Men vs. Street Fighter has been about ridiculous rushdown. And for the focus point of the combat system to be put more geared towards strategy and to be put more geared towards like zoning and things like that, it's a big dynamic to change, and I'm pretty excited to see the release of what some of the geniuses come up with this game. But that'll just about do it for now. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a blast, people. And hopefully if you get a chance to go to a fight club or a convention, definitely get it in your hands and see what you think. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time.